Hey guys, welcome back. It's Roland, your tutor from Think Brainwave. In this video, we'll be doing a couple of examples for special angles in trigonometry. So let's just recall, if you can remember, you've got SOHCAHTOA. You've also got shade your rear because X-rays tan your exterior. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, please go and watch the previous videos in this playlist. They all add up together and they all follow on from each other. So they explain everything about trig. If you don't know what's happening in terms of your basic rules and what I've just mentioned, please make sure to go watch those videos. Otherwise, enjoy, sit back, relax, and let's do a couple of finding lengths problems. So let's find the length of x below. Now, it's not find the length as in circle and say, ha, just found the length. It's a case of using trigonometry to do this professionally, I guess. So we've got x over there. We've got a right angle triangle. We've got 100 as the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle. We then have a 50-degree angle that is opposite the x, upright value. And what do we do here? Well, we definitely do trig because it's a 90-degree triangle. If it was not 90, we could not do our basic trig that we are aware of at grade 10. So, step one, what do we do? We've got the opposite side and we've got a hypotenuse. So I'm thinking if you go write SOHCAHTOA, like write it down, you might well find out it's quite a lot simpler than you think. So SOHCAHTOA is primarily important when you don't really know what's happening and which sort of sine, cos, or tan to use. When you write it down, you start ticking off, okay, do I have an opposite? Do I have a hypotenuse, for instance? Do I have the adjacent, etc., etc.? So, as you can see, I'm writing SOHCAHTOA down. So now I can decide, okay, if I've got the 50-degree angle, I need to use that as a reference point. I've got the 90, which means I know 100 is a hypotenuse. But what is x? You know, is x an adjacent angle to 50 degrees, or is it an adjacent side, or is it an opposite side to 50 degrees? Now, in this case, we can clearly see that if we look at it from this sort of perspective, we can see, okay, x is an opposite side to 50 degrees. We then see that we don't have the adjacent, so we can't do cos and we can't do tan. So therefore, we decide on sine 50 degrees. So sine 50 degrees, we now write, is equal to O over h. Our opposite side is x, and our hypotenuse is 100. We then need to manipulate the equation a little bit so we can isolate x by itself. Remember though that when you multiply both sides by 100, you need to cancel your 100 on your right hand side. That's the way in which to go forward here. So we call this rearrangement. We rearrange this equation nicely. You obviously get rid of the O and the H because the O and the H are representing the sine 50. So if you're confused, that's why we're getting rid of O and H in the next line. So we say 100 sine 50 is equal to x. Why is that? Because we multiplied both sides by 100. And when you have a 100 in the numerator, like we have now on the right hand side, and we have one in the denominator, we cancel it just like that. So now we have 100 sine 50 is equal to x. There we go. There's our x, and that's how we got it. Alright, so it's not always the simplest thing to calculate, like unless this is an identity angle or a special angle, we can't just calculate it off the top of our heads. That's when we need to pull out the calculator and plug it straight into the calculator, then write your answer. Hence, in step 3, we will use our calculator. It's quite simple really. You just click 100, and you can either click the times sign or you can just click 100 sine, put your 50 degrees, and then close your brackets. So what we calculated to be is x is equal to 76.604 degrees, and we generally round these sort of figures off to the closest two decimal places. So we put the squiggly equal sign because it's not exactly equal to this number, but it is more or less equal to 76.60. And there we have it. That's the way in which you need to write your answer when doing your basic trig. That's all for now, guys, and well done. Easy game.